随地全交代. Anywhere, anytime, fully accounted. Xuefeng. Anywhere, anytime, fully accounted. This profound maxim was created by Daoyun Celestial of Life Chanyuan. Life is an unpredictable journey, where any moment or place could be our final stop. Once we step outside, there's no guarantee we'll return. Our farewells to loved ones may indeed be final partings, leaving us no chance for one last word. Therefore, we must live anywhere, anytime, fully accounted, so that we leave no room for regret or remorse. A philosopher once said, "No one steps in the same river twice. Everything is in constant flux, changing from one moment to the next." Buddhism teaches that life is impermanent. Small changes accumulate, and major shifts can arise in an instant, like a tsunami, like an earthquake. Last year on this day, within this gate, human faces and peach blossoms reflected in red. And this year, you're nowhere to be found, while the peach blossoms still smile in the breeze. This is why we must be anywhere, anytime, fully accounted. To live anywhere, anytime, fully accounted means sharing our deepest blessings and praise with our loved ones and those we respect and admire. When possible, perform small acts of kindness for them, live with a clear conscience, and fully enjoy each moment. Be ready to depart at any moment, as if the next instant may take us from this world to a new journey through the vast universe. Anywhere, anytime, fully accounted. Earth is not life's permanent home. We're here temporarily by fate, and ultimately we'll leave. There's no need for excessive sadness or worry. Nothing here is truly ours, except the non-material structure of our own life. Saying, "This is mine" or "that is mine" is an illusion and a source of suffering. In the end, we take nothing with us. In the end, we're left with nothing but the spirit light of our awareness. Life is but a dream. All is transient like clouds. We must fully experience life, leaving no regrets. Anywhere, anytime, we should do our best, enjoy the wonder of life, and act and speak as the moment requires. The present moment is real. Don't sacrifice today for dreams of tomorrow. Regret and remorse arise when we don't live anywhere, anytime, fully accounted. Many people realize this only in their final days, at the threshold of life and death. But by then it's too late. Don't wait until the moment of farewell to make things right. Instead, be anywhere, anytime, fully accounted. In this way, we can close our eyes in peace, free of regret, at any time and place. Imagine if Jesus suddenly appeared before us, asking us to leave this world right now. Are there things we can't let go of? Debts unpaid? If so, it means we haven't been anywhere, anytime, fully accounted. With this mindfulness, our spirit will remain at peace and our soul in joy, ready to follow Jesus to the kingdom of heaven. Anywhere, anytime, fully accounted is a sublime life state. It aligns with Tao and the wisdom of Prajna. It is the perfect realization on the Bodhi path, a teaching of Buddha, a whisper of Zen, a divine revelation, a boat to cross the river of life, a remedy for the lost, a finger pointing to the moon, an angel's call to board the ship. Anywhere, anytime, fully accounted, is when life's light shines brightly in the present moment, bringing great liberation and a grand life. From this comes fearlessness and a life without regret. Remorse will no longer haunt us. Our mind and body will resonate in pure joy, aligned with the celestial beings. Practicing anywhere, anytime, fully accounted, is an excellent path for self-improvement. Only with this mindset can our heart and soul remain peaceful. Only then can we fully enjoy life, always ready to embark on new journeys. With such inner freedom, why fear the collapse of the sky and earth or magnetic pole reversals? Why let worldly clamor or stormy winds faze us? Even blade and fire cannot harm a single hair. The gates to heaven are always open to all, not only to Christians, Buddhists, and Muslims but to anyone. They are open to the good and the bad, the white, black, and yellow. Yet, finding heaven's gate is no simple feat, and entering it is even harder. Could we truly leave the human world for heaven anytime and anywhere? Imagine an earthly paradise here on earth. Could we abandon everything and walk forward without looking back? How many unfulfilled dreams weigh on us? How many attachments linger in our hearts? How many bonds still captivate us? How many obstacles hold us back? Saying it is easy, doing it is difficult. So from now on, let us strive to be anywhere, anytime, fully accounted, leaving no regrets or remorse. Then we will be ready to set forth at any moment, embracing new life and new experiences ahead. 向内修还是向外修? Inner cultivation or outer cultivation? Xuefeng. From Buddhist philosophy to Osho and countless modern masters, a shared principle and encouragement has emerged: inner cultivation. The essence of inner cultivation is that Buddha nature is inherently complete. By turning inward, one can return to simplicity, attain enlightenment, and reach divinity. This focus on inner cultivation is valid since the ultimate goal of cultivation is to refine one's consciousness and perfect the non-material structure of life. All appearances are illusory. Only the structure of consciousness and life is real. Appearances and functions are just the external expressions of essence. But without a foundation of outer cultivation, what exactly are we cultivating inwardly? Cultivating what exactly? You might end up cultivating a mouse or a snake within yourself, turning yourself into a kind of monster. Think that sounds far-fetched? Some animals recognize the first creature they see after birth as their mother. A child raised by wolves would become a wolf child. People in isolated places often think that what they see and hear is the whole universe. Without outer cultivation, all one might cultivate is arrogance and a narrow perspective. In the Structural Characteristics of Civilized Society 6, Chanyuan Buddha states, "Who am I? Where did I come from? Where am I going?" Suppose you wake up and have lost all your memories, then who are you? You recognize self, because you remember yourself, your appearance, your social connections, your past experiences that continue right up to your awakening. That is why you perceive as real. If one day you were to wake up on another planet, say in the 10,000-year world, as long as your memories remained, you'd be pleased knowing you've come from Earth to this new world. Who am I? I am awareness, a memory structure in non-material form. Don't think your brain is everything. Your consciousness is also simultaneously recorded in the universal Alaya consciousness, shaping your past and future. As long as your consciousness exists, you exist. If memory vanished, there would be no awareness, no I. The ultimate purpose of existence in the universe is to create awareness, to enable I, thereby establishing the true logical foundation of the universe. I is awareness. Without awareness, there is no I. So where does this awareness come from? Awareness is cultivated through outer experiences. If a person is born without sight, hearing, taste, smell, or touch, who would they be? Ideally, inner cultivation should start at birth, but at birth, do you even know who you are? If you're raised by wolves, you'd be a wolf. If someone else adopts you at birth, would you recognize your biological parents? Without joining life a Chanyuan, would you know you're a Chanyuan celestial? Without understanding the universe, without knowing the vast world, without memories or personal experiences, could you know who you are? You'd be like a zombie or a person in a vegetative state. Thus, inner cultivation must be built on the foundation of outer cultivation. Inner cultivation is like cooking. First, you need ingredients: vegetables, flour, oil, salt, seasonings, pots, and pans. Without these, what meal could you prepare? Just thin air. Without the accumulation of knowledge from elementary, secondary, and higher education or from life and work experiences, dreaming of becoming a scholar is just fantasy. Inner cultivation is the pursuit of the well-learned. Beginners who cannot even distinguish north from south or tell wheat from weeds, yet shout inner cultivation, are cultivating illusions. I'd say they're only hardening themselves into stone. So, while we are alive, we must seize every moment for outer cultivation. We should fully experience life, explore widely, read extensively, and absorb the wisdom of others. Building on this rich foundation, we can continually reflect, verify, deepen our understanding, transform our thinking, refine our consciousness, and perfect the non-material structure of life. Inner cultivation must be grounded in outer cultivation, with both nurtured together. Otherwise, one becomes nothing more than a library exhibit or a storage bin of unused knowledge. 自我检测修行修炼的成果. Measure your levels of self-improvement and self-cultivation. Xuefeng. All who engage in religious activities are practitioners of cultivation, as are those involved in mystical practices, those who seek the Tao, and those who work for the well-being of humanity. Anyone who contemplates the mysteries of nature and incorporates this understanding into their daily life is a practitioner of cultivation, as are those who long for paradise and diligently pursue it. The members of Life Chanyuan, known as celestial beings, are also practitioners of cultivation. Cultivation is merely a process, not an end in itself. The purpose of cultivation is to achieve certain outcomes that one aspires to. So, how can one determine the results of their cultivation after a period of practice? To begin, we must clarify several points. If you tell me you've read the Bible, the Diamond Sutra, the Quran, or the Tao Te Ching and ask what you've achieved, I'd say, you've achieved nothing. If you say you can recite and explain these scriptures to many, and ask what you've achieved, I'd say, you've achieved nothing. If you say you've practiced mystical methods for decades and ask what you've achieved, I'd say, you've achieved nothing. If you say you've sought the Tao for years and participated in numerous gatherings of fellow seekers, and ask what you've achieved, I'd say, you've achieved nothing. If you say you have extensively studied Western New Age spiritual materials, reflected on them deeply, and followed them rigorously, and ask what you've achieved, I'd say, you've achieved nothing. If you say you've spent years online day and night neglecting sleep and meals, debating various topics with netizens, and have connected with many high-level spiritual friends, and ask what you've achieved, I'd say you've achieved nothing. If you say you hold great reverence for Jesus or Buddha and have unwavering faith in gods and Buddhas, and ask what you've achieved, I'd say, you've achieved nothing. If you say you've followed several masters, listened to their teachings and guidance, and ask what you've achieved, I'd say, you've achieved nothing. If you say you've taken a Grand Master, celestial being, a returned Jesus, or a reincarnated Maitreya Buddha as your teacher, and ask what you've achieved, I'd say, you've achieved nothing. If you say you have written hundreds of articles on the cultivation and practice of seeking the Tao, or authored several profound books addressing major questions about the universe, and ask what you've achieved, I'd say, you've achieved nothing. If you say you have delivered lectures on the Dharma or other main paths to thousands of people in many places, and ask what you've achieved, I'd say, you've achieved nothing. If you say you have established a spiritual website, providing users with a vast amount of essential classics and insightful writings from today's masters on cultivation and practice, and ask what you've achieved, I'd say, you've achieved nothing. If you say you regularly meditate, chant mantras, burn incense, or make offerings, and ask what you've achieved, I'd say, you've achieved nothing. If you say you've built temples, churches, erected statues of deities and Buddhas, and ask what you've achieved, I'd say, you've achieved nothing. If you say you come to Life Chanyuan daily, study the Chanyuan corpus and Xuefeng corpus, and ask what you have achieved, I'd say, you've achieved nothing. If you say you participate actively in the Life Chanyuan community, diligently follow the guide's instructions, and ask what you've achieved, I'd say, you've achieved nothing. Hearing this, you may feel upset, uncomfortable, or unconvinced, thinking my response is too harsh. Let's examine some principles. If Xuefeng completed his studies up to postdoctoral level, what did he gain? Nothing. If Li Si worked tirelessly on the land, turning the soil over and over again, what did he achieve? Nothing. If Wang Wu practiced, sat in meditation, cultivated, chanted, meditated, prayed, wrote, and lectured every day, but found no change in himself, where is his achievement? Nowhere. If Zhao Lu studied architectural design, made money to buy building materials but never built a house, what did he accomplish? Nothing. If Qian Qi preached forgiveness, aspired to perfect himself in his environment, but quarreled with everyone he met, what did he achieve? Nothing. If Sun Ba was a lawyer, wrote thousands of legal or defense documents, went to court hundreds of times, but never won a case or secured any benefits for his clients, did he accomplish anything? No. The purpose of cultivation is results, not the process. Regardless of how thrilling, tough, beautiful, or long the journey is, if there is no outcome, the entire process is a futile effort, as worthless as lighting a candle in daylight. If you are a vegetable farmer and you work hard all year but fail to grow vegetables for people to enjoy, you have achieved nothing. Buying top-quality seeds, the most effective fertilizers, plowing the land many times and constantly watering. If they don't yield crops, what have you accomplished? If I am a customer wanting to buy vegetables but you have none to sell, think about it. Can I buy the process of planting vegetables? I want the vegetables, not the process of planting them. Of course, without the process there can be no result, but the process is only valuable when it serves the result. If there is no result, however diligent or elaborate the process, it's but a fleeting illusion devoid of value. The ultimate aim of cultivation is to reach the celestial kingdom. If we fail to meet the standards and requirements for entering the kingdom, if we cannot enter it, then what is the point of our cultivation? It has no point. If I were sent by the celestial kingdom to welcome cultivators to paradise, my only standard would be the perfection of your soul's non-material structure, not your knowledge, wisdom, status, power, material wealth, or process of cultivation. With that perspective in mind, we can now address the main question: how can we measure our progress in cultivation? If you find that you no longer have nightmares and mostly dream in color, do not feel attached to family life, enjoy playing and entertainment, love communal living, are free from moral restrictions around sexuality, are without worries and can maintain happiness, optimism, and joy in any situation, feel only love in your heart, free from jealousy or hatred, are grateful in all things, then you have achieved the results needed to enter the 1,000-year world. In other words, you are certain to reach the 1,000-year world. If you find that you can fly in your dreams, experience only pleasant dreams, always feel joyful and excited, do not wish to possess anything, are entirely free of negative emotions, are filled with immense love for nature, have a sense of a wonderfully bright future, feel only love in your heart, completely devoid of envy and hatred, then you have achieved the results needed to enter the 10,000-year world. In other words, you are certain to reach the 10,000-year world. If you find that you have supernatural abilities in your dreams, are free from a sense of self, have no fear of death, have only beautiful visions and thoughts in your mind, can communicate with trees, flowers, insects, birds, and animals, can spiritually connect with the Creator, wish to create a paradise for humanity, frequently experience realms of ultimate bliss, then you have achieved the results needed to enter the Elysium world. In other words, you are certain to reach the Elysium world. These are the standards by which you can measure your cultivation progress. You can check yourself against them at any time. Followers of Jesus can examine whether these standards align with his teachings. Students of Buddhism and Taoism can check whether these standards are consistent with the wisdom of the Buddha and Laozi. Other spiritual practitioners, and those who have perceived the celestial kingdom, can use their wisdom and insights to determine whether these standards are reasonable. If you have questions, feel free to ask. 无相思维一 Formless Thinking Part 1 Xuefeng April 11, 2008 The 8 levels of thinking are material thinking, image thinking, associative thinking, illusory thinking, visualized thinking, Tai Chi thinking, formless thinking, and holographic thinking. These levels progress in depth and complexity. Ordinary people typically engage in material thinking, artists and writers employ image thinking, scientists use associative thinking, most religious followers operate within illusory thinking, practitioners of mystical arts such as wizards engage in visualized thinking, sages engage in Tai Chi thinking, bodhisattvas and Buddhas practice formless thinking, while gods and the greatest creator employ holographic thinking. A person's life level is determined by their way of thinking. In other words, the type of thinking one possesses corresponds to the life level one attains. I have already explained the first 6 types of thinking, so I won't repeat them here. Now let's delve into formless thinking. Formless thinking, as the name implies, involves understanding and contemplating the origin of the universe, the principles underlying all phenomena, and the essence of life itself, without relying on appearances or forms. Here, form refers to all visible objects and structured movements. Anything that can be seen, heard, smelled, tasted, or touched is a form. The laws and principles discovered and defined by humans are also forms, known as characteristics of Dharma. Even concepts like emptiness and nothingness are forms, called characteristics of non-Dharma. Formless thinking is the thinking of bodhisattvas and Buddhas. It moves beyond color, sound, smell, taste, touch, Dharma and non-Dharma concepts, directly approaching the universe's origin and the true nature of things. This thinking sees the essence through the appearance, transcending the material world to understand the realm of non-material and the non-material world. It observes the Tathagata, the thus come one, directly, using the Buddha eye to view the world. The Tao that can be spoken of is not the eternal way. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The law that can be spoken of is not the eternal law. The form that can be seen is not the eternal form. When time and space transform, everything else changes accordingly. In one time and space, a principle may be universally true, but in another, it may no longer apply. What is true today may become false tomorrow. The lover bound by promises today may become an enemy tomorrow. The fragrant meal today may sour and spoil by tomorrow. Thus, all things are impermanent. If one clings to any particular form, fixing it rigidly in their consciousness without adaptation, they will experience endless suffering and confusion. Are all things truly impermanent? No. In all changes, the fundamental remains constant. But where is this fundamental? How can it be found? By observing the myriad forms, one will not find the fundamental. Only in formlessness, by clearing all forms from one's consciousness, can one find the fundamental, recognize the Tathagata, achieve Buddhahood, and escape the sea of suffering to reach the world of ultimate bliss. To guide people toward formless thinking, Buddha Shakyamuni provided the following teachings. If a bodhisattva retains concepts of self, person, sentient beings, or lifespan, they are not a bodhisattva. A bodhisattva should practice giving without attachment to forms, not clinging to color, sound, smell, taste, touch, or law. Bodhisattva should give without attachment to forms. All forms are illusory. If one sees that all forms are non-forms, they see the Tathagata. If the mind clings to forms, it clings to the concepts of self, others, sentient beings, and lifespan. If one clings to the characteristics of Dharma, they cling to the concepts of self, others, sentient beings, and lifespan. If one clings to the characteristics of non-Dharma, they cling to the concepts of self, others, sentient beings, and lifespan. One should cultivate a tranquil mind like this, not generating thoughts based on form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or dharma. The mind should arise unattached. To be free from all forms is to be called a Buddha. If one sees me through form or seeks me through sound, they follow a deviant path and cannot see the Tathagata. Those who have resolved to attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi should understand, perceive, believe, and understand all dharmas in this way, without generating the characteristics of Dharma. How does one explain this to others? By remaining unattached to form, thus unmoved. Buddha Shakyamuni has clearly shown us that only through formlessness can one see the Tathagata and become a bodhisattva or Buddha. So, how can we practice formless thinking? What can we perceive once we have achieved formlessness? How can we reach the wondrous state of formless thinking? In the next part, Transformation of Time and Space, Formless Thinking Part 2, we will explore these questions. 时空变换无相思维2 Time and Space Transformation Formless Thinking Part 2 Xuefeng, April 12, 2008. A philosopher once said, "You cannot step into the same river twice." How true this is. On this day last year at this very gate, human faces reflected the red of peach blossoms. Where have those faces gone? The peach blossoms still smile in the east wind. Young when I left home and old when I returned, my accent was unchanged, but my hair has grayed. The children see me and don't recognize me. Laughing, they ask, "Where has this guest come from?" As stars shift and constellations change, so do people and things. As winds and clouds fluctuate, the days become ever newer. Broken walls where foxes sleep and deserted platforms where hares tread. All were once places of song and dance, yellow flowers chilled by the dew and withered grasses shrouded in mist. All were battlefields of old. Is there constancy in rise and fall? Where now lies strength and weakness? Once inseparable, what about today? Russia remains, but where has the Soviet Union gone? Yesterday, I played and laughed under the knees of my elders. Will they be well in their old age tomorrow? Tall buildings rise. But is the brook flowing beneath the little bridge in front of my house still clear and murmuring? Yesterday there was a bustling crowd at the house. Today it stands cold and empty, a lone crow on a bare branch. In the place of eternal vows, even simple tea and plain rice taste like the finest delicacies. When friendships turn cold, the sun and moon lose their light, and the sky darkens. When will the spring flowers and autumn moons end? How much do I remember of the past? The little building last night again faced the east wind, and I cannot bear to look back at my homeland under the bright moon. The carved railings and jade steps should still be there. Yet the youthful faces have changed. How much sorrow can you have? It flows like a river of spring water heading east. The affairs of the world are impermanent. Circumstances change with time. The heavens and earth shift and seas turn into fields. After 3 days without seeing someone, look at them with new eyes. Each moment is different from the last, always replacing the old charms with new ones. As I look back, tears often flow. In seeking dreams, my heart is always saddened. Time and space constantly shift. Flowers bloom and fall, hard to hold on to. Clouds roll and stretch, hard to shape. A sudden shower scatters the petals, high and low the red flowers fall. Countless elm seeds flutter in vain, unable to buy the spring breeze. The weather varies widely and waves stretch vast. The heavens have unpredictable winds and clouds. People have unexpected fortunes and misfortunes. 64 cosmic factors create countless, unpredictable transformations beyond human comprehension. Unfortunately, joy and sorrow, parting and reunion are always heartless. I watch the raindrops fall before the steps, dripping until daybreak. A day in heaven equals a year on earth. Such is the nature of time and space. As time and space change, so must our thoughts and consciousness. Whether it's classic texts or customs, religious doctrines or the words of wise figures, we must assess their value based on their effectiveness in the present. Clinging to tradition, rigidly holding on to old rules, and always applying the teachings of the ancients to today's actions leads only to hardship and endless suffering. Marital love, celebrated in the human world, holds no place in heaven. The 3-inch golden lotus-bound feet, praised in ancient times, has now become a symbol of foolishness and suffering. The spirits of Jingwei filling the sea, Quafu chasing the sun, Yugong moving mountains, and Yuhua mending the sky are commendable in spirit, yet their methods are flawed. The Bible, Quran, Diamond Sutra, and Tao Te Ching struggle to explain life in a way that guides reality, let alone other teachings. What should we do? The only solution is formless thinking. Otherwise, we will be dragged down by the past and confused by appearances. As time flies and days slip by like arrows, we must transcend the complex and ever-changing phenomena of the material world to seek the true source of all things. Only then will the sacred mountain feel close at hand. Only through formless thinking can we free ourselves from the entanglement of suffering and reach the ideal shore. Time can only make one grow old, but won't trust sentimental feelings. Long hating the parting at the pavilion, tears fall on spring clothes, easily sobering from wine. Last night the west wind rushed through the parasol trees. Under the faint moonlight, dreams were often disturbed. From where does a single cry of a goose on a high building come? Everyone knows that salvation should be won, but with ambition won't have done. Where are the famous ones of days gone by? In grassy graves they lie now, everyone. Everyone knows that salvation should be won, but with their gold and silver they won't have done. Every day they grumble they haven't enough. When they've enough, it's only then they've gone. Everyone knows that salvation should be won, but with their wives and children they won't have done. The darlings every day protest their love, but once you're dead they're off with another one. Everyone knows that salvation should be won, but with their sons and grandsons they won't have done. From old till now the unfilial young have paid their fond, blind fathers with a frown. For insights on achieving formless thinking, stay tuned for the next article. 1 + 1 = 0, Formless Thinking, Part 3. 1 + 1 = 0 Wushang Thui Thun. 1 + 1 = 0 Formless Thinking 3. Xuefeng. April 13, 2008. The embrace of particle and antiparticle results in instantaneous annihilation, becoming zero. The total energy of the universe is also zero. The hub of 24 parallel worlds is zero. Among the 36 dimensions of space, there is a realm called the Zero World. This realm is zero, and the greatest creator is zero. In my advanced cultivation, I introduced a method called returning to zero. To truly return to zero, one must engage in formless thinking. The universe has a balancing mechanism which originates from zero. This balancing mechanism sets the limits for all things to develop. Within these limits, phenomena manifest positively. Beyond them, they turn negative. It is like a pendulum that swings around zero as its center. Once it strays from zero, the pendulum immediately disappears. The numbers of males and females in humanity are also centered around zero. The sum of both genders always equals 0. Once this balance is surpassed, events inevitably occur to restore equilibrium. The number line always expands outward from 0 in every direction. From a microscopic perspective, everything appears complex and unpredictable. However, with some analysis, we discover that no matter how many phenomena exist, they can all be categorized into the balanced dualities of yin and yang. Each phenomenon is either one or the other. This realization elevates our understanding to the principle of Taiji. Everything is not as complicated as it seems. The dazzling variety of phenomena is simply the Taiji principle in full expression. Yet, how did the Taiji principle originate? Why can the two extremes not expand infinitely? For instance, why can't either gender in the male-female dynamic infinitely reproduce, creating only boys or only girls? Because there is a 0 that restricts them. It is the cyclical movement around 0 that creates organic, harmonious, and symmetrical balance, giving rise to beauty, a sense of movement, and a world full of life. Therefore, from a macroscopic perspective, everything is 0, which Buddhism calls emptiness. Understanding this brings immense enjoyment to life, making every moment a paradise. Without this understanding, life becomes passive, pessimistic, and an endless sea of suffering. Why do I urge everyone to go with the flow, adapt to circumstances, act according to nature, and respond spontaneously? It is because of the Taiji dance of 0. When an actor performs outside the director's intentions, both experience suffering. To act according to the law of nature is to enter the Tao. Understanding this principle and following its laws is to achieve Tao. Knowing that 1 + 1 is equal to 0 allows us to enter the formless realm. Have you ever seen a kaleidoscope? The ever-changing patterns of flowers and shapes are simply variations of 0, 1, and -1. By firmly grasping 0, 1, and -1, one can transcend the dizzying phenomena and get straight to the essence. What's even more fascinating is that anyone can rise from being an actor to becoming a director. Actors are passive, but directors are active. Actors dwell in the realm of necessity, whereas directors live in the realm of freedom. I guide everyone to the Celestial Islands continent to help you enter the realm of freedom, to become directors, and to create a magnificent world of 0, 1, and -1. Entering the realm of formless thinking brings us to the world of 0, the emptiness of Buddhism. What is this world like? It is blissful beyond description, truly wondrous. Laozi had already glimpsed its mystery, saying, "The formless form, the image of no object, is elusive. Elusive and hazy, therein lies the image. Hazy and elusive, therein lies the object. Deep and dark, therein lies the essence, which is most genuine. Within it lies truth." Hence, Buddhism concludes, form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. In the spirit of this article, 0 is everything and everything is 0. Yet, simply understanding that 0 is everything and everything is 0 has no practical value. Its true value lies in application, not merely comprehension. Does knowing the principles of riding a bicycle centered on balance provide any real benefit if one doesn't ride? No. Does understanding that food is energy bring real value if one doesn't eat? No. So how do we apply the insight that 0 is everything and everything is 0? Christ Jesus tells us that by giving up oneself, one gains oneself. By seeking oneself, one loses oneself. This is what Buddha Shakyamuni continuously emphasized. No self. Do you wish to become a bodhisattva? To attain Buddhahood? First, let go of yourself and embrace no self. Do not let your heart be attached to forms, sounds, smells, tastes, touch, or dharma. Your heart should arise without attachment. The sage holds onto the one as a model for the world, while celestial beings hold onto 0 as a model for the world. Not seeing oneself, one gains clarity. Not asserting oneself, one shines. Not boasting, one has merit. Not being self-important, one endures. Only by being unselfish can one truly become oneself. How can we integrate these principles into our daily lives? Please refer to the wonderful use of 0, formless thinking for 零的妙用无相思维4. The Marvel of 0 Formless Thinking Part 4. Xuefeng. July 28, 2008. 0 is like the sun, radiating boundlessly. 0 is a flower vivid and fragrant. 0 is a clear spring, pure and refreshing. 0 is the Elysium world, filled with boundless joy. Everything begins from zero. Everything finds peace in zero. The myriad forms give rise to spirit. This is the origin of zero. The spirit transcends all forms. This is the dance of zero. Without zero, nothing exists. By returning to zero, one gains everything. The infinitely compassionate Buddha, Shakyamuni, teaches us to live without attachments. Without attachment to self, others, beings, or lifespan. Without attachment to dharma or even to non-dharma. Do not let your mind linger on what is seen, what is heard, what is smelled, or what is touched. Do not let your mind be bound by laws, principles, doctrines, concepts, customs, habits, or rules. Simply put, let the mind be unbound. What does it mean for the mind to be unbound? It means allowing the mind not to linger on anything perceived through the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, or mind. Further, it means not lingering on material things, nations, political parties, religions, family, companies, groups, relatives, friends, lovers, enemies, good people, bad people, positive events, negative events, the past, the future, joy, resentment, wealth, fame, status, favorable situations, adversity, success, failure, happiness, suffering, morality, precepts, natural laws, principles, and so on. Formless thinking means letting everything return to zero. The initial feeling of returning to zero is a knowing smile. The intermediate feeling is indescribable wonder. And the advanced experience is entering the Elysium world. If we do not have these sensations, it shows we have not truly returned to zero. The Buddha said, "To be free of all forms is to attain Buddhahood." Simply put, when we become formless and return to zero, we become Buddhas. The theory of becoming a Buddha is this simple, but the path to Buddhahood is exceedingly difficult. Formless thinking is returning to zero. How can we marvelously utilize zero? Let me offer 3 paths to experience the wonderful realm of returning to zero. 1. Go to a vast desert, stand amidst it, gaze forward, and if you can free your mind from attachments, quiet your breath and focus your spirit, you may suddenly feel a sense of emptiness, temporarily forgetting or completely ignoring your own existence. You blend into the desert and suddenly, the self dissolves and the mind opens up, giving rise to a wonderful sensation. At this moment, you have entered the Buddha's realm. You may also experience this by going to towering mountains, expansive grasslands, or visiting the grand waterfalls at the Canada-US border or the Zimbabwe-Zambia border, standing by the sea, watching the sunrise or the sea of clouds from the peaks of great mountains, or sitting by a surging river. If you can clear your mind and quiet your breath, at a certain instant, you may completely ignore your own existence, experiencing a sublime, blissful feeling that transports you to the Buddha's land. 2. During the experience of sexual climax, one might momentarily disregard the existence of the other person and forget oneself entirely, sensing only that everything is so wonderful. I feel as if I am in paradise. It feels like an awakening, the beginning of life. An indescribable, almost unbearable ecstasy. A surge of intense fire, consuming everything wonderful beyond words. It's like leaving my body, leaving my mind, without concern for what usually seems so important. In this perfect ethereal realm, everything feels exhilarating, lifting the soul, pure, fresh, peaceful, beautiful. One may weep with joy, exclaiming, "God, I love you." This is the Buddha land. 3. Practices such as meditation, contemplation, yoga, and Life Chanyuan's transcendence from the physical body meditation method can also lead us to a formless state. Especially when entering the 4th or 5th stage of meditation, one achieves a return to zero, a state of entering the Elysium world. The mysteries of this will be further explained during the practice of Life Chanyuan meditation. The above are ways anyone can experience the bliss of formlessness, allowing us to understand what the Elysium world is and what it is like to become a Buddha. However, these experiences are fleeting. They are but brief flashes of our Buddha light. How can we experience and feel such wonder continuously, eternally? The optimal approach is formless thinking. The above paths to bliss happen because unknowingly we enter a formless thinking state. If our minds remain attached to something at that moment, we cannot experience bliss. The question now is, for those of us living in this world with endless troubles, how can we free ourselves from them and enter the state of formless zero? The wondrous use of zero. Make yourself zero. Step aside, imagine that you do not exist. Everything has nothing to do with me. I do not exist. Yet the earth continues to spin, mountains endure, rivers flow. Everything moves within the Tao, each thing governed by its own rules or natural order. Every person follows their unique life path and fate. Why should I worry? Why should I be anxious? All things are fleeting illusions, like fireworks or passing clouds. Life, death, and existence unfold naturally. Go with the flow, transform with fate. If it's interesting, I'll join in. If not, I return to zero. Whether the heavens collapse and the earth shatters, whether the ground quakes or mountains sway, whether people are parted by life or death, or the moon waxes and wanes, whether there's theft, deceit, murder, or arson, whether businesses fail or organizations collapse, whether trade stagnates or the economy declines, whether someone hangs themselves, jumps into a river, or crashes into a wall, whether love fades or an affair begins, whether the lights flash, the wine flows, and people revel or lose themselves in indulgence, whether someone is demoted, imprisoned, or utterly defeated, whether disputes arise, grievances deepen, truth is distorted, or morality is questioned. None of this concerns me. The wondrous use of zero. Leave humanity and enter the celestial realm ahead of time. The rise and fall of the world is none of my concern. The fate of nations, religions, parties, families, why should I care? Flowers may wither, let them wither. Rain may fall, let it fall. Winds may blow, let them blow. Divorce may come, let it come. Not wanting to live? Well, that's a choice. The wondrous use of zero. Make yourself shapeless. Let clouds gather and disperse, flowers bloom and fade, seas ebb and flow. Watch the play of humanity as if watching a movie. Step outside the three realms, beyond the five elements. Others may fight, I don't fight. Others may seize, I don't seize. Others may covet, I don't covet. If it's amusing, I appear. If it's troubling, I disappear. The wondrous use of zero. The greatest creator is zero. I return to zero. I am one with the greatest creator. The greatest creator is eternal, and I am eternal. The greatest creator owns everything, and I have everything. I give everything to the greatest creator. Success, failure, gain, and loss. Let it not burden my heart. Birth, death, and separation come as they will. I am empty yet possess everything. I do nothing but accomplish everything. Lacking in form but adapting to all forms. Shapeless but filling all spaces. Insults come, ridicule comes, scorn comes, slander comes, attacks come, suffering comes, right and wrong come, poverty comes, sorrow comes, trouble comes, death comes, I return to zero. Joy comes, freedom comes, happiness comes, beauty comes, I emerge from zero.